The stars had never seen such cruelty. Across the galaxy, world after world fell to the Corvani hegemony. These alien beings believed they were gods. They had powerful ships and terrible weapons. For thousands of years, they had crushed every race that dared to fight them. Captain Hyun-woo watched from the shadows as another planet died. His ship, the Silent Dawn, stayed hidden behind a dead moon. The view screen showed the Rilani homeworld burning below. Billions of people had lived there just hours ago. Now most were dead. The survivors would become slaves. "Captain, I'm picking up another broadcast," said Ji-eun from her station. She was young, maybe 25, but already one of the best communication officers in the Earth Defense Force. Her voice shook as she spoke. Hyun-woo nodded. "Put it through." The main screen filled with the image of a massive alien. Admiral Veltar stood nearly 3 meters tall. His skin was dark purple and covered in bony plates. 4 eyes glowed red with hatred. When he spoke, his voice boomed. "Across space, pathetic creatures of Rilani Prime," Veltar said. "Your resistance has ended. Your cities burn because you dared to fight gods. We are the Corvani hegemony. We rule this galaxy by divine right. Submit or die. There is no other choice." Behind Veltar, Hyun-woo could see Rilani prisoners being dragged away in chains. Men, women, children. All would spend their lives working in Corvani mines or factories. The lucky ones would die quickly. "Turn it off," Hyun-woo said quietly. The screen went dark. The bridge of the Silent Dawn fell silent. These humans had watched many worlds fall, but it never got easier. Hyun-woo looked at his crew. So-young sat. At the tactical station, her hands clenched into fists. Taemin worked at the engineering console, but his eyes were angry. They all felt the same way. "Captain," So-young said, "we have to do something. We can't just watch this happen." Hyun-woo understood how she felt. So-young was only 28, but she had seen too much death already. They all had. For 3 years, they had been watching the Corvani destroy everything in their path. Earth's orders were clear. Observe and report. Do not engage. Humanity was not ready for war. "Our orders are to gather information," Hyun-woo reminded her. "Admiral Soo-jin needs to know how the Corvani fight. Every detail could save human lives later." Taemin looked up from his station. "The Corvani ships are leaving orbit. Looks like they're heading for the jump point." "Follow them," Hyun-woo ordered. "Stay hidden. I want to know where they go next." The Silent Dawn moved like a ghost through space. Human stealth technology was better than anything the Corvani had. The alien ships never knew they were being watched. Hyun-woo had been tracking Corvani fleets for months. He knew their patterns, their tactics, their weaknesses. The Corvani believed they were perfect. That would be their downfall. As they traveled, Ji-eun intercepted more Corvani communications. Most were reports about their victory. But one message was different. It came from the Corvani capital world. "Captain, you need to hear this," Ji-eun said. The voice that came through the speakers was deeper than Admiral Veltar's. This was supreme. Overlord Thexnor himself, ruler of the entire hegemony. "My loyal servants," Thexnor said. "Our divine mission continues. Sector by sector, we bring order to chaos. The weak races of this galaxy are learning their place. Soon, every world will bow before us. We are eternal. We are unstoppable. We are gods." So-young made a disgusted sound. "Gods don't murder children." "The Corvani think might makes right," Taemin said. "They've been winning for so long they can't imagine losing." Hyun-woo studied the tactical display. 47 Corvani ships were heading toward the next system. Their target was probably the Zenthari colonies. Another peaceful race that would be enslaved or destroyed. "Captain," Ji-eun said suddenly, "I'm getting a priority message from Earth." "Put it through to my ready room," Hyun-woo said. He left the bridge and walked to his small office. The communication screen showed Admiral Soo-jin. She was 50 years old, with gray hair and tired eyes. As commander of Earth's first deep space fleet, she carried a heavy burden. "Captain Park," she said, using his full name, "what's your status?" "The Rilani homeworld has fallen," Hyun-woo reported. "Estimated casualties are in the billions. The survivors are being taken as slaves. Admiral Veltar's fleet is moving toward Das Zenthari space. Admiral Sujin was quiet for a moment. Any changes in Corvani tactics? No, Admiral. They still rely on overwhelming firepower. They don't expect resistance. Their ships are powerful, but not very smart. Good. Keep watching them. We're almost ready. Admiral, Hyunwoo asked, how much longer do we wait? How many more worlds have to die? Sujin's expression was grim. The President is meeting with the Defense Council tomorrow. I think our hiding days are almost over. The transmission ended. Hyunwoo sat alone for a moment thinking about what was coming. Humanity had been preparing for this war for 50 years, ever since they discovered they were not alone in the galaxy. The first human ships to leave Earth had found a galaxy full of life. Hundreds of intelligent species lived among the stars, but they also found the Corvani hegemony. The aliens had been conquering worlds for millennia. Any race that tried to fight them was destroyed completely. Earth's leaders made a hard choice. Humanity would stay hidden. They would build their strength in secret. They would learn everything about their enemies before revealing themselves. Now that time was almost over. Hyunwoo returned to the bridge. His crew was still watching the Corvani fleet. These aliens thought they ruled the galaxy. They believed. No one could challenge their power. They were wrong. Tae-min, Hyunwoo said. Run a full scan of their ships. I want every detail. Yes, sir. Tae-min's fingers flew over his controls. Captain, their technology is interesting. Powerful but old. They haven't made any improvements in decades. They don't think they need to, So-young said. When you always win, why change? That was the Corvani weakness. They had stopped growing. They had stopped learning. They thought they were perfect already. Humanity had spent 50 years studying, building, improving. The Corvani would be surprised. Ji-yun, send our report to Admiral Sujin, Hyunwoo ordered. Include everything we've learned about their fleet movements. Sending now, Captain. Hyunwoo looked at the stars on the view screen. Somewhere out there, the Zenthari were going about their daily lives. They had no idea death was coming for them. But maybe this would be the last time. Maybe soon someone would finally stand up to the gods. The Corvani thought they were eternal. They thought they were unstoppable. They thought they were gods. They were about to learn how wrong they could be. Back on Earth, Admiral Sujin read Hyunwoo's report carefully. In her office, she looked at pictures of the ships humanity had built in secret. Weapons the Corvani could never imagine. Technology that would shock the galaxy. The time for hiding was almost over. The time for justice was about to begin. Admiral Veltar's fleet jumped toward the Zenthari system, confident in their divine power. They had no idea that hidden among the stars, human eyes were watching. Human minds were planning. Human hearts were burning with anger at the suffering they had witnessed. The age of the Corvani hegemony was ending. They just didn't know it yet. 3 months had passed since the fall of Relani Prime. The galaxy trembled under Corvani rule, but change was coming. In the Outer Rim territories, a single human ship moved through space with purpose. The New Soul was not a warship. It carried diplomats, not weapons. Captain Minho believed in peaceful solutions. Captain, we're approaching the Corvani patrol zone, said Lieutenant Yu-na from the navigation station. She was nervous. Everyone on the ship was nervous. This was humanity's first official contact with the hegemony. Minho stood on his bridge and looked at his crew. They were young, mostly in their 20s and 30s. Communications Officer Dong-woo checked his equipment one more time. Science. Officer Hyejin reviewed the translation protocols. They all knew the risks. Remember, Minho said calmly, we follow Earth's first contact rules. We approach peacefully. We offer friendship. We try to stop the killing through words, not weapons. And if they refuse to listen, asked Commander Eunji, his second-in-command. Then we've done our duty, Minho replied. But I have hope. Even gods can be reasoned with. The New Soul was a beautiful ship. Its hull was silver and smooth. Solar. Panels stretched like wings from its sides. Everything about it said peace. The crew wore blue uniforms with no weapons. They carried data pads full of scientific knowledge and cultural gifts. Corvani ships detected, Yuna announced. 3 heavy cruisers coming toward us. On the main screen, the Corvani vessels appeared. They were dark and angular, covered in weapon ports. Each ship was 3 times larger than the new Sol. They looked like predators moving through space. "Open a channel," Minho ordered. Dongwu's hands shook slightly as he worked. "Channel open, Captain." "Attention, Corvani vessels," Minho said in his calmest voice. "This is Captain Minho of the Earthship New Sol. We come in peace. We wish to speak with your leaders about stopping the war." The response came quickly. A harsh alien voice filled the bridge. "Unknown vessel, you will stop and prepare to be boarded. Any resistance will result in immediate destruction." Minho took a deep breath. "We understand your caution. We are willing to meet with you, but we ask that you contact Supreme Overlord Thexnor. Our message is important." There was silence for several minutes. Then the alien spoke again. "You dare speak the name of our God Emperor? You will be silent until we decide your fate." The Corvani ship surrounded the new Sol. Minho could see weapon systems powering up. His crew looked scared, but they trusted him. Earth had chosen him for this mission because he never gave up on peace. "Captain," Hyojin said quietly, "they're scanning us. Deep scans. They're checking our technology." "Let them look," Minho said. "We have nothing to hide." That was not entirely true. The new Sol looked like a simple exploration ship, but it had some surprises: hidden armor plating, advanced shields, emergency systems that even the crew didn't know about. Earth's leaders were hopeful, but not stupid. 2 hours passed. The Corvani kept the human ship trapped while they decided what to do. Finally, the communication system activated again. This time, the voice was different, deeper, more powerful. "I am Supreme Overlord Thexnor," the voice said. "Who dares to speak with a god?" The main screen filled with an image that made several crew members gasp. Thexnor was huge, nearly 4 meters tall. His skin was black as space, with golden markings that seemed to glow. 6 arms ended in clawed hands. His head was crowned with bone spikes. When he smiled, he showed rows of sharp teeth. "Greetings, Supreme Overlord," Minho said politely. "I am Captain Minho, representative of Earth and humanity. We have watched your empire grow. We wish to discuss peace." Thexnor laughed. The sound was like rocks breaking. "Peace? You speak to me of peace? I am conquest itself. I am death to all who oppose me. What could your pathetic race possibly offer a god?" Minho stayed calm. "We offer knowledge, technology, cultural exchange. We also ask that you stop destroying innocent worlds. Many of the races you fight mean no harm." "Harm?" Thexnor's voice rose to a roar. "I am the judge of harm. These insects exist only to serve gods like me. Their purpose is to bow down or be crushed." "Perhaps we could find another way," Minho said. "Surely a being of your wisdom can see that cooperation brings more benefits than conquest." The alien god emperor studied the human captain for a long moment. Then he smiled again, and it was not a pleasant sight. "You are either very brave or very stupid little human, but I will give you one chance. Kneel before me. Swear that Earth will serve the hegemony. Bring me your leaders in chains. Do this, and I might let your species live as slaves." Every person on the New Sol bridge held their breath. This was the moment Earth had prepared for. Minho looked at his crew, then back at the screen. "I'm sorry," he said firmly, "but we cannot do that. Humanity does not kneel. We offer friendship between equals, or nothing at all." Thexnor's expression changed. His eyes narrowed with fury. "You refuse? You insignificant worm, you dare refuse a god?" "We refuse to be slaves," Minho said. "We refuse to watch innocence die. If that makes us your enemies, then so be it." The Supreme Overlord's rage was terrible to see. He raised all 6 arms and his voice echoed with power. "Then you will learn what happens to those who defy divinity. Admiral Korthval, destroy that ship, turn it to dust and atoms, show these primitives the price of pride." The communication ended. On the tactical display, the Corvani ships began to move. Weapon systems charged to full power. Each cruiser carried enough firepower to level a city. "Captain," Yunji said urgently, "they're targeting us. All weapons." "Shields up," Minho ordered. His voice was still calm, but now there was something. else in it. Something harder. All crew to battle stations. Sir? Dongwu asked. Should I send a distress signal to Earth? No, Minho said. Earth is watching. They'll know what happened here. But first, let's show our new friends what humans are really made of. The Corvani opened fire. Energy beams that could melt mountains struck the new soul from 3 directions. The alien weapons were designed to kill gods. They had never failed before. But something impossible happened. The human ship's shields flared bright blue, then held. Not only held, but grew stronger. The energy readings from the new soul began to climb. Impossible, Admiral Korthval said from his command ship. No shields can withstand divine fire. Fire again! Full power! The second attack was even stronger. Enough energy to destroy a small moon hit the human vessel. Once again, the shields held. This time, they barely flickered. On the new souls. Bridge. Hai-Jin watched her instruments in amazement. Captain, the shields are adapting. They're learning how to absorb their weapons. Minho smiled for the first time since the conversation began. Good. Now let's talk back. Sir, Yunji asked. Return fire, Minho said quietly. 1 shot. Make it count. But Captain, Dongwu protested, this is a diplomatic ship. We don't have weapons. Minho's smile grew wider. Check again. Hidden panels opened along the new soul's hull. A single weapon emerged. It looked small compared to the massive Corvani guns. But when it fired, the beam was perfect. Pure white. Light that cut through space like a sword. The beam struck Admiral Korthval's flagship exactly in the center. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then the massive Corvani ship simply came apart. It didn't explode. It didn't burn. It just stopped existing, as if it had never been there at all. The other 2 Corvani ships stopped firing. Their crews stared in shock at the empty space where their admiral had been. Minho opened a communication channel to the entire Corvani fleet. When he spoke, his voice was broadcast to every ship in the area. This is Captain Minho of Earth. We came in peace. You chose war. That was unwise. Tell your supreme overlord that the age of gods is over. Humanity has arrived. The remaining Corvani ships fled. They jumped to hyperspace as fast as their engines could carry them. Behind them, they left only debris and the memory of impossible. Defeat. On the new Soul, the crew sat in stunned silence. They had just witnessed something that should not have been possible. A single human ship had destroyed a Corvani dreadnought with 1 shot. Captain, Yuna said softly, what are we really carrying on this ship? Minho looked at his young crew. These brave people had trusted him completely. They deserved the truth. Hope, he said simply. We're carrying hope for every enslaved race in the galaxy, and now they know we're here. Across the galaxy, the news spread like wildfire. The impossible had happened. The Corvani gods had been defeated. A new power had emerged from the outer rim. In hidden bases and secret meetings, enslaved races began to whisper of liberation. The humans had come. The gods could bleed. The age of tyranny was ending. The age of freedom was about to begin. The news traveled faster than light across the galaxy. In slave camps and hidden settlements, whispered conversations carried the impossible story. The Corvani gods had been challenged. One of their mighty ships had been destroyed by unknown. Aliens called humans, Supreme Overlord. Thexnor stood in his throne room, his 6 arms trembling with rage. The massive chamber was built from the bones of dead worlds. Thousands of skulls from conquered races lined the walls. It was meant to show the price of defying gods. You tell me one primitive ship destroyed Admiral Korthval's flagship? Thexnor roared at the trembling messenger. The divine hammer was unsinkable. It had shields that could stop star killers. Warlord Zefkal, Thexnor's military commander, stepped forward. He was smaller than his god emperor, but twice as cruel. My lord, the survivors all tell the same story. The humans used some kind of new weapon. Our ship's armor meant nothing. Impossible! Thexnor slammed his fist on his throne, cracking the stone. We are gods. Our technology comes from the ancient ones. No younger race can match divine power. But even as he spoke, Thexnor felt something he had not experienced in thousands of years. Fear. Not for himself, but for the empire he had built. If these humans could destroy Corvani ships, what else could they do? "Bring me our science masters," he ordered. "I want to know everything about these creatures. How they fight, how they live, how they die." Meanwhile, in a secret facility on the edge of Corvani space, Agent Daun worked quietly at her computer terminal. She had been undercover for 2 years, pretending to be a maintenance worker. In reality, she was Earth Defense Force intelligence. Her job was to steal Corvani military secrets. Daun was only 26, but she was one of the best spies humanity had ever trained. She could speak 12 alien languages and blend in anywhere. Right now, she was listening to the highest levels of Corvani command. The message she intercepted made her blood run cold. Warlord Zefkul was assembling the largest fleet in galactic history. 500 dreadnoughts, 2,000 heavy cruisers, 10,000 support ships. The entire western arm of the Corvani military was being called to one place. Their target, New Busan, a human colony world with 50 million civilians. Da-Yun quickly encoded the information and sent it toward Earth. The message would take days to arrive, but she prayed it would be in time. The Corvani wanted to make an example. They planned to kill every human on New Busan to show the galaxy what happened to God-killers. Back on Earth, Admiral Su Jin received the warning in her command center deep beneath the Pacific Ocean. The Yai underground facility had been built in complete secrecy. Here, humanity had planned for the war they knew would come. "How long until the Corvani fleet reaches New Busan?" she asked her aide, Colonel Jae Sung. 16 days, Admiral, Jae Sung replied. He was 40 years old, a veteran of Earth's colonial wars. "They're not trying to hide their movement. They want everyone to see them coming." Su Jin studied the tactical display. The Corvani fleet was massive beyond belief. Earth's entire navy was only a fraction of that size. By all logic, humanity should evacuate New Busan and hope the aliens would be satisfied with an empty world. But Earth's leaders had not spent 50 years preparing just to run away. "Contact Captain Sang-woo," Su Jin ordered. "Tell him to take the Indomitable to New Busan, full speed." Jae Sung looked shocked. "Admiral, with respect, that's one ship against 500. It's suicide." Su Jin smiled grimly. "Colonel, you've been working with me for 5 years. Have I ever sent our people to die for nothing?" "No, Admiral." "But the Indomitable isn't just any ship," Su Jin said. "It's our answer to the gods. Trust me. In space near Mars, the EDF Indomitable prepared for its first real mission." The ship looked ordinary from the outside. It was gray and blocky with no fancy decorations. Most aliens would think it was just another human cargo vessel. They would be very wrong. Captain Sang-woo stood on his bridge looking at his crew. These men and women had trained for this moment their entire careers. Tactical Officer Yu Jin was barely 30, but she could calculate firing solutions faster than any computer. Weapons specialist Wu Jin had helped design the ship's systems. Chief Engineer Han Yul knew every bolt and circuit in the vessel. "Ladies and gentlemen," Sang-woo said calmly, "we've received our orders. A Corvani fleet is heading for New Busan. Our job is to stop them." "Sir," Yu Jin asked, "how many ships are we facing?" "About 500 major vessels," Sang-woo replied. The bridge fell silent. Everyone knew those odds were impossible, but they also knew their captain. Sang-woo had fought in the Titan Rebellion and the Asteroid Wars. He had never lost a battle. "I won't lie to you," Sang-woo continued. "This will be the hardest fight humanity has ever faced. But remember what we're protecting. 50 million innocent people are counting on us. Every enslaved race in the galaxy is watching." He looked at each crew member in turn. "We're not just fighting for Earth. We're fighting to prove that bullies can be beaten, that gods can bleed. Are you with me?" "Yes, sir," the crew replied as one. "Then let's go kill some gods." The Indomitable jumped to hyperspace, racing toward New Busan. Behind them, Earth's leaders watched and waited. Everything depended on what happened next. On New Busan, Governor Lee Kyung-soo tried to keep his people calm. The colonial world was beautiful, with green forests and blue oceans. Families had come here to build new lives. Now death was coming for them. "Governor," his aide Mi-young said urgently, "Earth Defense is sending evacuation ships. We can save maybe 10% of the population." Kyung-soo shook his head. 10% isn't enough. What about the rest? The children? The elderly? We can't just abandon them. Sir, there's nothing else we can do. The Corvani fleet is too big. Before Kyung-soo could answer, a new message arrived from Earth Defense Command. It was short. 1 ship coming. Trust the plan. 1 ship. Against the largest invasion fleet in galactic history, Kyung-soo had been a soldier before becoming a governor. He knew military thinking. 1 ship was either a miracle or a sacrifice. He prayed it was the first. In the depths of space, the Corvani Armada moved like a storm of death. Supreme Admiral Korthvel commanded from his flagship, the God's Wrath. He was Thexnor's cousin, and just as cruel. The destruction of New Busan would be his gift to his God Emperor. "Admiral," his tactical officer reported, "we're detecting 1 human ship in the New Busan system. It appears to be waiting for us." Korthvel laughed. 1 ship? These humans truly are insane. Or perhaps they think their God-killer weapon will save them again. "Should we proceed with caution, sir?" "Caution?" Korthvel's 4 eyes glowed with amusement. "I have 500 dreadnoughts. They have 1 ship. Even if it's magical, what can it do against divine might?" The Corvani fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the New Busan system. Their ships filled space like an ocean of metal and death. Energy readings from their weapons could be detected from 3 star systems away. And there, directly in their path, waited the EDF Indomitable. Alone. Captain Sang-woo sat in his command chair, perfectly calm. His crew worked quietly at their stations. On the main screen, the Corvani fleet looked like a wall of darkness moving toward them. "Communications from the Corvani flagship," reported Communications Officer Sora. "Put it through." Supreme Admiral Korthvel's image filled the screen. The alien's face was twisted with contempt. "I am Supreme Admiral Korthvel, Sword of the God Emperor. You will surrender immediately, or we will turn your ship into cosmic dust." Sang-woo studied the alien commander for a moment. "I'm Captain Sang-woo of the Earth Defense Force. I have a counteroffer. Leave this system now, and we won't destroy you." Korthvel's laugh echoed across the communication channel. "You threaten me? With 1 pathetic ship? Human, you face the greatest fleet ever assembled. We have firepower to crack planets." "Yes," Sang-woo said quietly. "But you're still going to lose. Impossible. Nothing can stand against the might of—" Sang-woo cut the transmission. He turned to his crew, all of whom were watching him with complete trust. "Remember," he said, "we're not just fighting for ourselves. Every enslaved species in this galaxy is counting on us to prove that gods can bleed. Let's not disappoint them." The Corvani fleet opened fire. 500 ships unleashed enough energy to boil oceans. The space around the Indomitable turned white with deadly light. When the light faded, the human ship was still there, not only intact, but completely undamaged. And then the real battle began. The impossible had happened again. The Corvani fleet's opening attack, powerful enough to destroy entire worlds, had done nothing to the human ship. Supreme Admiral Korthvel stared at his tactical displays in disbelief. All weapons, maximum. "Power!" he roared. "Destroy that ship!" The second attack was even stronger. Energy beams from 500 dreadnoughts converged on the Indomitable. The space around the human vessel turned into a miniature star. Heat that could melt planets focused on 1 small target. When the light cleared, the Indomitable was not only still there, but its shields were actually glowing brighter than before. Captain Sang-woo turned to his chief engineer. "Hanul, how are our power levels?" Hanul grinned at his displays. "Actually going up, Captain. Their weapons are charging our systems. We're at 120% power and climbing." "Excellent." Sang-woo opened a communication channel to the entire Corvani fleet. "Attention Corvani ships. This is your final warning. Leave now, or face the consequences." Korthvel's response was a scream of rage. "You mock gods with your tricks. All ships ramming speed. If we cannot burn them, we will crush them." 50 of the largest Corvani dreadnoughts accelerated toward the Indomitable. Each ship weighed millions of tons. Together, they carried enough momentum to shatter asteroids. The human ship did not move. It waited calmly as the alien vessels approached. At the last moment, something amazing happened. The Indomitable's hull began to change. Metal flowed like water, reshaping itself. The ship grew larger, sprouting new sections and weapon ports. In seconds, it had tripled in size. The ramming attack hit the transformed vessel and simply stopped. The Corvani ships crumpled against the human hull like insects hitting a wall. Their crews were thrown around inside their ships. Several dreadnoughts lost power completely. "Impossible," whispered Korthvel's tactical officer. "Ships don't reshape themselves. It's not natural." On the Indomitable's bridge, weapons specialist Wu Jin looked up from his console. "Captain, all weapons systems are online. We're ready to return fire." "One moment," Sang Wu said. He activated the ship's internal communication system. "Attention, Corvani prisoners. Report to the briefing room." "Prisoners?" Yujin asked. "We captured several enemy crew members during the ramming attack," Hanul explained. "The ships automated. Systems grabbed them when their vessels made contact." A few minutes later, Chief Engineer Hanul escorted a terrified Corvani sensor operator to the bridge. The alien was named Yithnal, and he had never seen anything like the human ship. "You want to know how we do it?" Hanul asked the trembling prisoner. "It's simple. You call yourselves gods because you found some powerful toys in ancient ruins, but you never learned to truly innovate." Hanul pointed to the tactical display, which showed the massive Corvani fleet. "You've been using the same technology for 10,000 years, the same weapons, the same shields, the same engines. When you always win, why improve?" Yithnal stared at the human engineer. "But your ship, it changes shape. It absorbs our weapons. How is this possible?" "Because we never stopped learning," Hanul said simply. "Every time you defeated another race, we studied how you did it. We found the weaknesses in your technology. Then we built something better." On the main screen, the Corvani fleet was regrouping for another attack. Supreme Admiral Korthvel had never faced an enemy like this. His weapons were useless. His rams had failed. But he still had numbers. "All ships, surround the human vessel," he ordered. "They cannot fight us all at once. Concentrate fire from all directions." The massive fleet spread out, forming a sphere around the Indomitable. Thousands of weapons pointed at the single human ship. When they fired together, the energy release was visible from other star systems. But something new happened this time. The human ship didn't just absorb the energy, it began to reflect it back. Beams that had been aimed at the Indomitable bounced off its hull and struck other Corvani vessels. "They're turning our weapons against us," Korthvel's tactical officer reported in panic. Worse, the Indomitable was beginning its counterattack. But it didn't fight like any ship the Corvani had ever seen. Instead of firing traditional weapons, it released clouds of tiny objects that looked like metal dust. "What are those things?" Yithnal asked Hanul. "Nanobots," the human engineer replied. "Microscopic machines. They're about to teach your fleet something about real technology." The metal dust clouds spread through the Corvani formation faster than their sensors could track. When the nanobots reached enemy ships, they began to work. Some attached themselves to weapon systems and shut them down. Others reprogrammed navigation computers. Still others took control of communication arrays. Within minutes, Corvani ships were turning their guns on each other. Crews watched in horror as their own vessels became enemies. The perfectly organized fleet dissolved into chaos. "Make it stop!" Korthvel screamed at his technicians. "Override the systems! Regain control!" "We can't, Admiral," his chief engineer replied. "The nanobots are rewriting our computer codes faster than we can fix them. It's like they understand our technology better than we do." That was exactly right. Humanity had spent 50 years studying captured Corvani equipment. They knew every weakness, every flaw, every backdoor in the alien systems. But the Indomitable had one more surprise. Captain Sang Wu turned to Wu Jin. "Begin manufacturing sequence." "Yes, sir." The human ship began to change again. This time, sections of its hull opened to reveal massive construction bays. Inside, robotic arms moved at incredible speed. assembling new ships from raw materials. Where are they getting the materials? Yithnal asked in amazement. Hanul pointed to the debris from destroyed Corvani vessels. Your ships. We're recycling them into our fleet. It was true. The Indomitable was breaking down wrecked alien vessels at the molecular level, then rebuilding the matter into new human ships. In less than an hour, the single human vessel had become a squadron of 20. Supreme Admiral Korth Vel watched his mighty fleet fall apart around him. Ships that had conquered galaxies were being defeated by technology he couldn't understand. Weapons that had never failed were useless against human engineering. Admiral, his communication officer said quietly, we're receiving surrender requests from over half our fleet. Their crews want to give up. Korth Vel felt something break inside his mind. The Corvani were gods. They did not surrender. They did not lose. But here he was, watching his divine fleet be destroyed by primitives who shouldn't even exist. Send a message to the human ship, he said, his voice barely a whisper. Sir, I want to speak with their captain. A few minutes later, Captain Sang Woo's image appeared on Korth Vel's main screen. The human looked calm and professional, as if defeating impossible odds was just another day at work. You have something to say? Sang Woo asked. Korth Vel struggled to form words. What? What are you? Your technology? It's impossible. Ships don't rebuild themselves. Matter doesn't obey your commands. You're not gods. So how? Sang Woo's expression was almost sad. You called yourselves gods for so long, you forgot what real power looks like. True strength doesn't come from fancy weapons or ancient artifacts. It comes from never stopping, never giving up, never accepting that impossible means anything. The human captain leaned forward slightly. You conquered the galaxy because you found powerful toys. We're taking it back because we learned to build better ones. Around the two flagships, the battle was ending. Most of the Corvani fleet had either surrendered or been disabled. The few ships still fighting were being systematically shut down by human nanobots. Your empire is finished, Sang Woo continued. Not because we're stronger than you, but because we're smarter. We learned, we adapted, we improved. You did none of those things. Korth Vel's flagship shuddered as human nanobots began to infiltrate its systems. His crew was abandoning their stations as their equipment stopped responding to commands. You said you were gods, Sang Woo said quietly. Let me show you what real gods look like. The communication ended. Korth Vel sat alone on his dying ship, watching as everything he believed in crumbled around him. The Corvani hegemony, mighty ruler of 1,000 worlds, had been defeated by creatures they had dismissed as primitives. In the distance, the human. Ships were already moving toward the next Corvani system. The liberation of the galaxy had begun. On New Busan, 50 million humans looked up at the stars and cheered. They had been saved by a single ship that had done the impossible. Children would grow up hearing stories of the day the gods were proven mortal, and in slave camps across the galaxy, whispered conversations carried new hope. The humans had come. The age of tyranny was ending. The gods were dead. Long live the god-killers. 6 months had passed since the Battle of New Busan. The galaxy was a different place now. The mighty Corvani hegemony, once rulers of 1,000 worlds, had crumbled like sand. Their divine fleets were scattered or destroyed. Their god-emperor was in hiding. Admiral Su Jin stood on the bridge of her flagship, the Righteous Fury. Through the view screen, she could see the liberated world of Zenthari Prime below. The planet's cities were rebuilding after centuries of slavery. Children, who had never known freedom, were learning to play in the sunlight. Admiral, her aide Colonel Jae-sung reported, we've received surrender offers from 12 more Corvani systems. They want to negotiate terms. No negotiations, Su Jin said firmly. Full surrender only. We free all slaves. We remove all Corvani. Military forces. And we establish protection zones for the liberated races. Yes, Admiral. Su Jin had changed in the months since the war began. The tired-looking woman who had once hidden in shadows was now the leader of the largest liberation fleet in galactic history. Humanity had built hundreds of ships using the new technology revealed at New Busan. Each vessel carried the promise of freedom to enslaved worlds. On the planet's surface, Captain Hyun-woo worked with local leaders to establish the new Galactic Liberation Council. The old intelligence officer had become humanity's chief diplomat. His job was to help freed races learn to govern themselves again. "The Zenthari people are doing well," he reported to Soo-jin during their daily communication. "Their industrial capacity is recovering quickly. They want to help build ships for the Liberation Fleet." "Good," Soo-jin replied. "What about the other species?" "Similar stories everywhere. The Rilani are rebuilding their cities. The Vorthak are training new police forces. Everyone wants to help fight the Corvani." It was true. Across the galaxy, races that had been enslaved for centuries were awakening to freedom. Some needed time to heal from their suffering. Others immediately wanted to join the fight against their former masters. But in the deepest regions of Corvani space, Supreme Overlord Thexnor was making a desperate choice. The God Emperor had lost most of his empire. His remaining fleets were hiding in secret bases. His people were beginning to question his divine authority. "My lord," Warlord Zefkul said as he entered the throne room, "the humans have taken another 15 systems. Our forces are retreating everywhere." Thexnor sat slumped on his bone throne, no longer the proud god he had once been. "How is this possible? We ruled for 10,000 years. How can these creatures defeat us so easily?" "They use technology we don't understand," Zefkul replied. "Our scientists say it's far beyond anything we've seen, even beyond the ancient ruins where we found our weapons." The truth was painful for Thexnor to accept. The Corvani had never been gods. They had simply found powerful artifacts left by an earlier civilization. For millennia, they had used these tools to conquer and destroy. But they had never truly understood them. Now real gods had arrived, and they were nothing like the Corvani. "My lord," Zefkul continued, "there is one option left. The Omega device." Thexnor's 4 eyes widened. The Omega device was the most terrible weapon ever discovered in the ancient ruins. It was designed to destroy entire galaxies, turning billions of stars into supernovas. The original builders had locked it away because even they feared its power. "If we cannot rule the galaxy," Thexnor said slowly, "then perhaps no one should have it." The decision was made. Deep in a hidden fortress at the galactic core, Corvani technicians began to activate the doomsday weapon. If they could not defeat the humans, they would destroy everything. But the humans had one more secret. Dr. Min Jung stood in her laboratory on Earth, studying artifacts that had puzzled scientists for decades. She was the galaxy's leading expert on ancient technology. For years, she had been trying to understand the ruins where the Corvani found their weapons. "Admiral Soo-jin," she said during an urgent communication, "I need to speak with you immediately. I've made a discovery about the predecessor civilization." "What kind of discovery?" Soo-jin asked. "The kind that changes everything." An hour later, Dr. Min Jung presented her findings to Earth's leadership. The evidence was overwhelming and shocking. DNA samples from the ruins, technology patterns that matched human designs, writing systems that evolved from ancient Earth languages. "The predecessors," Dr. Min Jung said, "were human." The room fell silent. Admiral Soo-jin was the first to speak. "That's impossible. Humanity only reached space 50 years ago." "This humanity did," Dr. Min Jung replied. "But there was another branch of human civilization that left Earth millions of years ago. They spread across the galaxy, built great cities, developed incredible technology. Then something happened. They disappeared, leaving only ruins behind." "What happened to them?" "Unknown. But they designed their technology to respond only to human genetic markers. The Corvani have been using our own weapons against us for 10,000 years. The implications were staggering. Humanity wasn't conquering the galaxy. They were coming home. Meanwhile, Captain Sang-woo and the Indomitable were racing toward the galactic core. Agent Dayun had discovered the Corvani plan to activate the Omega device. If they succeeded, every star in the galaxy would explode within hours. "How long until we reach the fortress?" Sang-woo asked his navigator. 6 hours, Captain," Yu-jin replied. "But sir, their defenses are incredible. They have gravity weapons that can crush planets." "We'll handle it," Sang-woo said calmly. The Corvani fortress was a massive structure built into a neutron star. It was protected by energy shields that could withstand supernova explosions. Weapon platforms surrounded it like a metal asteroid field. It was the most defended location in the galaxy. But when the Indomitable arrived, something unexpected happened. As the human ship approached the ancient fortress, lights began to activate throughout the structure. Weapon systems that had been aimed at the approaching vessel suddenly powered down. Defense shields flickered and disappeared. "What's happening?" Supreme Overlord Thexnor demanded from his command center. "Unknown, my lord," his technician replied. "The fortress systems are not responding to our commands. They seem to be welcoming the human ship." On the Indomitable's bridge, Captain Sang-Woo watched in amazement as the fortress opened its docking bays. Ancient mechanisms that had slept for eons were activating at his approach. "Captain," Haniel said from his engineering station, "I'm reading human biosignatures throughout the structure. The fortress is recognizing us as the original builders." Sang-Woo smiled. "Then let's go home." The Indomitable docked with the fortress without resistance. Captain Sang-Woo walked through corridors that had been built by his own species millions of years ago. The walls displayed writing in ancient human languages. Artwork showed scenes of early human space exploration. At the center of the fortress, he found the Omega device. It was a massive sphere of crystalline metal, pulsing with deadly energy. Corvani technicians were working frantically to activate it. When they saw the human captain, they reached for their weapons. "I wouldn't," Sang-Woo said calmly. The Corvani found their weapons would not fire. The fortress security systems had recognized Sang-Woo as the rightful owner. Only humans could give commands here. Supreme Overlord Thexnor emerged from behind the device, his 6 arms shaking with rage and fear. "You! How did you get past our defenses?" "Simple," Sang-Woo replied. "This isn't your fortress, it never was. You've been living in our house for 10,000 years. The alien god emperor stared at the human captain. "Impossible. The predecessors were gods. You are nothing but primitive insects." "The predecessors were human," Sang-Woo said. "We built this galaxy. We created the technology you've been using. We designed these weapons and defenses. And now we're back to set things right." Sang-Woo walked to the Omega device's control panel. Ancient human text appeared on the screens, welcoming him home. The system requested his authorization for all commands. "Computer," he said clearly, "cancel Apocalypse Protocol. Lock down all Omega device functions. Authorization. Sang-Woo, Captain, Earth Defense Force." "Authorization confirmed," the computer replied in perfect Korean. "Welcome home, Captain. Omega device deactivated. All systems now under human control." Thexnor fell to his knees. The truth was too much for his mind to accept. The gods he had worshipped, the technology he had stolen, the empire he had built, all of it had belonged to the humans from the beginning. "You really were gods," he whispered. "And we tried to play. In your house, we're not gods," Sang-Woo said quietly. "We're just people who refuse to give up. The galaxy belongs to everyone now. The age of conquest is over." As Corvani forces throughout the galaxy received word of their leader's surrender, the last resistance crumbled. The war was won not through destruction, but through the simple truth that bullies always fall when someone stands up to them. 1 year later, the Galactic Liberation Council met on the neutral world of New Geneva. Hundreds of species, many breathing freely for the first time in millennia, worked together to build a better future. Admiral Hyun-Woo, now promoted to lead the diplomatic corps, watched children from dozens of worlds playing together in the stations. Gardens. Human children ran alongside young Zenthari, Rilani, and former Corvani. The next generation would grow up in freedom. "It's beautiful," said So-Young, his aide.